Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're exploring a seriously fascinating framework that completely rethinks how we handle public noise. It's based on a source text titled Reclaiming Silence, a framework for regulated public sound. And it's an incredibly structured proposal that looks at our shared environmental spaces and asks, how can we fundamentally change our relationship with amplified noise in our towns and cities? Because, it's not just about turning down the volume, it's about completely rethinking time, space, and our basic right to just have some quiet.
So picture this scenario right out of our source material. I think we can all relate to this. It's 2 p.m., you're totally in the zone, trying to finish up a crucial presentation, or maybe you're literally right in the middle of a work call. Or flip it, it's 11 p.m., you're finally drifting off to sleep after a super long day, and suddenly, boom, without any warning whatsoever, a loudspeaker completely takes over your environment. It kind of feels like someone just walked straight into your living room with a megaphone, doesn't it? It's not your choice, not your event, and definitely not your voice. But in an instant, it becomes your undeniable reality. We've all been there, staring at the ceiling or frantically hitting the mute button, and we all know exactly how jarring that feels.
Which brings us to a massive, really fundamental question that challenges our basic assumptions about the spaces we all share. Should public sound just run continuously, or should it be heavily controlled? For decades, we've kind of just accepted that noise is part of the package when you live in a society. We tolerate the rogue leaf blower at the crack of dawn, or the blasting event down the street, as this inevitable byproduct of public life. But this framework pushes back hard on that assumption. It's asking us to seriously reconsider whether an uninvited soundtrack should be allowed to just run continuously through our days and our nights.
Section 1. The public noise problem, moving beyond decibels.
So why exactly does this drive us all so crazy? Well, the source argues that standard decibel limits completely miss the mark. They fail because the real culprit isn't just how loud something is. It's what the framework calls time intrusion. Think about it. A moderately loud sound at 6 a.m. can be vastly more disruptive than a blaring sound at noon. The core issue is that noise intrudes into our early mornings, our midday focus hours, and our late nights. It's the duration and the timing that actually break our focus and steal our rest, not just the raw volume. When we only measure decibels, we completely miss the psychological impact of having our time hijacked.
When we don't have protected windows of quiet, the fallout is actually pretty severe. Because there's no protected window for silence in most places, this continuous occupation of shared space creates severe daily disruptions. Sleep is constantly disrupted, leaving people fatigued. Work concentration is suddenly broken, destroying productivity. General public tension shoots up because everyone is constantly on edge, feeling a total loss of control over their immediate environment. And most tragically, silence simply disappears as a baseline public condition. When unregulated amplified sound is allowed to persist, public sound stops being an occasional event and becomes a continuous occupation of our shared space.
Section 2. A simple structural solution, the blanket ban.
Now, the core shift they're proposing here is a real game changer. The source material proposes moving completely away from complicated zoning laws and finicky decibel meters. Instead, they suggest instituting a blanket ban on speaker use in public places, with only fixed exceptions. So instead of noise being a given, silence becomes the default state of our environment. Amplified public sound, rather than being the norm, becomes a strictly permitted exception. It literally flips the script on how we manage our cities, moving us from a system of constant negotiation and endless noise complaints to a simple baseline of guaranteed quiet.
So, under this framework, there are strictly 2 permitted time windows for public loudspeakers. That's it. You have a morning window from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and an evening window from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. These times are highly strategic. They allow for essential public announcements, morning routines, or evening events, but they fiercely protect the core of the day. No public amplified sound during the rest of the day ensures focus and productivity for those working or studying, and absolutely no public amplified sound during the night guarantees protected sleep. It's a default ban with highly specific, limited permission windows.
Section 3. Strict rules and accountability, direct enforcement. A rule is really only as good as its enforcement, right? To make this actually work, the framework strips away all the usual excuses by demanding absolute accountability. The speaker owner or the operator of the equipment is fully responsible for compliance. It is not the event organizer, it's not the venue institution, and it's certainly not a third-party contractor. By tying responsibility directly to the physical ownership and operation of the speaker, you eliminate that endless loop of finger-pointing when a violation happens. Ownership means direct accountability, no exceptions. And the enforcement protocol outlined here, it is intentionally swift and uncompromising. If a speaker is used outside of those permitted time windows we just looked at, police act immediately. There is no warning required, no prior notice is needed.
The equipment is confiscated right then and there on the spot. This provides a massive relief to local authorities, actually. They no longer need expensive decibel meters, specialized training, or complex legal debates about zoning intent. They literally just need a watch. Because the rule is based purely on time windows, which are completely objective, enforcement doesn't require subjective debates. Police act on direct observation or verified complaint.
Section 4. The penalty and enforcement, escalating consequences.
Okay, let's look at how they build in real consequences here for those who violate the time windows. This clearly defined escalation structure ensures that the policy has real teeth. Step 1. A first violation triggers immediate confiscation of the equipment along with a fine. Step 2. If the operator tries to push their luck with a repeat violation, they face much stronger financial penalties. And Step 3. Continued violation triggers permanent confiscation of the equipment and blacklisting. Blacklisting, in this context, means the individual or organization is legally barred from obtaining permits for any future public sound events. It really emphasizes that the framework isn't just a polite suggestion, it's a strict environmental boundary designed to deter serial offenders from monopolizing the public peace.
Now, there is a super important boundary to keep in mind here. This blanket ban applies strictly to public amplification, sounds broadcasted out into the shared open environment. Internal or private spaces are completely separate. If you are inside a private venue, the existing traditional decibel rules continue to apply just as they always have. The goal here is exclusively to protect the shared, unwalled environmental space from time intrusion, without micromanaging what happens behind closed doors in soundproofed venues.
Section 5. The benefits of predictable silence, a shared environmental force.
So, if a city actually implements this strict, structured framework, what exactly changes for everyday people like us? Well, by limiting the time noise is permitted, nobody gets to dominate the public sound space continuously. First off, silence becomes predictable again. You actually know when quiet is guaranteed. Consequently, the night is protected, allowing sleep to improve, and the day becomes usable again, boosting everyone's productivity. Public conflicts also drop massively because everyone is playing by the exact same time rules. Enforcement is simple and objective. And interestingly enough, communication actually becomes more efficient. When time is limited to those specific windows, the endless, repetitive noise disappears, and public messages become much more structured and impactful.
The source material closes out with this absolute mic drop of a quote. Silence is not absence, it is infrastructure. Think about that for a second. This perfectly captures why public sound absolutely needs limits. We so often think of silence as just the empty space where sound isn't happening, but this framework argues that silence is an active, vital shared resource, just like clean water or paved roads. It is a shared environmental force, and anything shared must have limits to ensure it survives for everyone.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. Think about your own daily routine, your neighborhood, your focus. How would structured, predictable silence change your own city? If silence became the default infrastructure rather than a rare luxury, how would it transform your daily life, your sleep, and your peace of mind? It's an absolutely fascinating concept to consider. Thanks for exploring this framework with me today.